Hi there, Melody Moore here, CEO of Business Tech Ninjas, and I'm here with Lizzie, who's been on our team for just over 3 years now, just about 3 years. We are a completely remote company and believe remote work is the way to go. But the question is, it's not quite right for everybody. And so we want to chat today about what the benefits of remote work are, what the challenges are, and then to give you some tools and strategies to help overcome them. Before we get into that, Lizzie, what were you doing before you started working for Business Tech Ninjas as a career choice? And what kind of brought you to want to apply for an online remote work job?
I was working with dogs. I kind of jumped around to a couple different doggy daycare, dog training places, thinking that after the first one went really bad, maybe the second place would be better. But
Obviously.
that was not the case. I was waking up at like 5:30 in the morning to go to work with a bunch of barking dogs in pretty unsafe conditions, just because the owner didn't really care to listen to our opinions about how we could make the place a little bit safer or run a little bit smoother. And yeah, just a lot of drama, just not really the best place for me. So after dealing with a lot of drama and not being listened to, I thought maybe I would look for remote work and see if that would promise better
Were
things.
were you looking just for any job, or were you specifically like, okay, yeah, I want a remote work job?
I was looking for mostly remote work, and I was like, I'm kind of technical. Maybe I can find something like technical and remote because I was just so tired of the drama of workplaces and people not getting along and just all
Mhm.
kinds of nonsense. So I was like, I need to work from home.
And I think we all think about like what the benefits of remote work are. And because we're 100% remote, it's, we've been in business for over a decade now. And completely remote. And there's a lot of like good things about working remotely. What are your favorite things about working remotely?
I mean, if I haven't already mentioned it, I love not being around people all the time.
So it's more like an introvert's
I'm an
ideal.
introvert.
Oh.
No, I mean we have our meetings and I really love like the team and we all get along really well, but it's really nice to just kind of be able to sit by myself, do my work, maybe have some music on. It's just really relaxing. I have a fuzzy blanket, it's just perfect. Also no commute. I was taking like a 2-hour bus at one of my jobs both ways. That's a lot of time to be on a bus. I mean, even just to be in the car anytime.
Yeah.
Commute sucks. So that's definitely a win. And just also like a little bit more flexibility
Mhm.
in your life and time. So I think those are
I,
some of
I
the big
really feel like I can design my life, my work around my life a little bit more. Whereas
Mhm.
when I was working for it with a job, it was like my entire life just revolved around working. It was like I was basically just living to work. I'd get up at 6:30 to leave the house by 8, hope there wasn't traffic, be delighted with my life, and then by the time I spent an hour in traffic, hated my life. And then by the time I'd finish work at 5, it's like, well, maybe I go to the gym, maybe I have something to eat. It's like there's just enough time to maybe watch a show or something, crawl into bed by 10 or 11 and do it all over again, 5 days a week. And it just felt like I was on this like hamster wheel of living for either the weekend or a vacation. And, I
Yeah.
was like, what, 25 at the time, I want to say. I was like, is this really what the next 20 years of my life is going to be like?
Mhm.
It's like,
Also just like the scheduling too. I mean, some some of my I was working on weekends or I was working like night shifts. No, thank you. I do not want to work night shifts.
yeah. And and I think that with remote work and specifically with what we do, like sometimes you do end up working on the weekends or whatever else, but it's kind of more the exception than the rule.
Mhm.
And there's just flexibility. Like even when I am working on the weekends, look, I'm usually like somewhere, I bring my laptop to wherever I am. It's not like I have to go to an office for that. And granted, not every profession allows for you to be able to work remote, but there's also like a lot of like companies that can legitimately run remotely that just
Mhm.
aren't. And I think part of that is around like there's some challenges to it. It's not all sunshine and rainbows here of like the promise of what remote work is you can work from anywhere, but you also do need to kind of be able to manage yourself. There's a higher expectation of being able to be a self leader as opposed to like when you go into an office and you're required to sit at a computer for 8 hours, like you kind of just find something to do. But when you work remotely, it's easier to procrastinate, it's easier to put off work, and it's easier to blame other things. You need to have a plan, or things can blur together. You do need to have like, you need to create your own boundaries. And it's a personal development thing in general, not just within our work lives, but within our personal lives too, of like, how do you create healthy boundaries without being a jerk of like, no, I won't do that, which kind of can come off not so great to people. But being able to communicate that effectively, where it's like, no, like I have got a yoga class at 6, I need to sign off by 5. But proactively thinking about, well, what work do I need to make sure I get done so that that makes that easy, not just a, yeah, I got yoga class at 6, so I'm gonna have to like just not do this thing. It's like, well, no, like the work still needs to get done at that point in time. And then the last one is like the isolation and collaboration. Like at BTN, we work very diligently to create a sense of community and to have those bonding moments that you might get when you are working in an office in their remote work situation. So what we do on Fridays is we have drawing, where our Friday meeting. Sometimes they do it, sometimes they don't. I'd like you guys to do it a little bit more. And it's turned into this fun little competition for the team as well. And then we do a daily stand up as well, where there's some time before the call starts just to kind of chit chat. Because like you need to be a lot more intentional with like having those moments for people to connect. But I prefer the 15 minutes before the morning call and the Friday calls versus the like being in an office and like Susie wants to talk to you about her cats
Mhm.
again. It's like,
Yeah.
ah,
And what is getting cooked in the lunchroom because it does not smell good.
that's
It's
true.
wafting.
I think all of us are like most people are trying to maintain some level of a healthy lifestyle. And it's just a lot harder when you work in an office. There's a lot more on it for like, going out to eat and different things as opposed to being able to eat from home. And it's like you can have your meals there, you can cook good, healthy meals, you can have stuff prepped. It's just, it's not to say it's impossible when you work in an office, but I think it's harder. And like you may or may not have a stove or something there, like who knows. And just building in, like for me, one of the important things for me is walking twice a day. That's become a non-negotiable. So I walk first thing in the morning and I walk in the afternoon, and that helps bring me balance of like that's part of my personal process of how I maintain balance. But you can design out those kinds of things for what works for you in your life when you work from home, but it's a lot harder when you work in an office, I find.
100%.
And it's just different flavors of a different challenge, I would say. So I'm a big proponent of working remotely, and I also think there's a really big like cost factor to it as well. Sometimes people might take a pay cut to work remotely, and the ideal is that you don't. But even if you do, like if you look at the costs, and not even just like the costs of the office commute of between fuel and vehicle, lunches out, coffee, snacks, having to buy clothes, having to get dressed every day. And then not only that, but it's the time, like the commute of, when I was commuting, it was 2 hours a day at least. So that's 10 hours a week, 40 hours a month times 12. Like, what could I do with 40 hours a month in my life? I could probably be a lot better at watercolor art. Like a lot better, I would say. And it's just perspective there. So let's go. But like, why do you think there's watching on social and different things, and even we've had some team members we've hired that I remember one distinctly who was like, yeah, I just want to work in an office. And it's like, what? Why? Why do you think that people are going back to the office at this point in time?
I guess there is that social aspect of it. Um, some people really do like to hear what about Susie's cat every single day, and that's okay. But I think also it can be tricky to have the self-leadership to work remotely, and in an office you kind of have that box already built. So I think it's easier for people.
It's easier not to see the dysfunction in an office because, one of the points on here is it's supposed to be that there's the illusion of progress. People think that, oh, well, if this employee is sitting at their desk, they're productive. But like, I have a lot of friends that work in offices, and it's just this game of how to look productive when they're not actually doing anything for I would say half their day, I would bet. Like based on what they tell me, it's like, yeah, I just like did this thing. It's like, okay, is it 5 o'clock yet? And it really is kind of the illusion of progress and the illusion of control
Mhm.
that when you're at when you're in an office, that your team's somehow more effective. I think the skills of self-leadership are just as valuable if you're working in an office as opposed to if you're working at home. The difference is that it's easier to justify an employee's existence if they're showing up in an office every day. It's much harder if they're working remotely because you need to find a different measurement of success when a team member is working remotely as opposed to just showing up every day. And I think that can be hard. And then like what about like on the employee side? Like let's call her Julie for who joined and decided that remote work's just not for me. Like I I don't like I understand kind of some of the underlying things. Like why do you think that that was a better option for her at the time? I hope she regrets it now, but
It really did sound like she just wanted to be around people more.
hmm
And honestly, we're remote, but like you said, our Friday calls and our daily huddles, like I still feel like we're socializing and coming together, but I think she just needed more of that, like to be really directly with people and to
I think
each
there
their
are extroverted people out there. I mean, I don't understand them, but I think there are people out there that really do need to be around people. And all
own.
the power to them. I think remote work, like for me, I'm an extroverted introvert, I would say. I definitely recharge from being on my own, where I like to have social interaction with the team and to be on calls and different things, but I don't I feel drained if I'm around people all day long and it feels like a mental load to have to like think about the social dynamics throughout the day whereas I'd rather just focus on getting my work done and be productive and like how can I be really effective with my work so honestly I can work less because I've got a lot of hobbies and a lot of things I like to do outside of work that bring me fulfillment beyond my work. And I want to be able to spend more time doing those things, not necessarily just always like working and grinding all day.
Yeah.
I think
And
that's the
honestly, to me as an introverted person, I found working remotely has made going out and doing things and trying new things so much easier and a lot more fun and fulfilling because I'm not spending my 8 hours a day with a bunch of people and like drained by the end of the day. I'm ready to go try things. It makes
like
life
you
so
have like
much.
a social like exertion bucket. It's
My
like
little
I gotta
battery.
I mean, it is funny. Like I joke with friends. I'm like, I go to Costco every week as like my social thing. Like I need to be around people for a certain amount every day. And it's nice, but like I think you just have to be a lot more intentional and to
Mhm.
understand yourself of like what do you need. Like even if you are more of an extrovert, like organize a running group every day. Like there are ways to like work your own process that it can work for you if it's something that you want. But like building that in, but really being more intentional about it versus being more reactive, which is like, oh, this just isn't right for me. And I think part of it is like you do need to have clear like separation of work and home and having clearer boundaries. I find it really, I would find it difficult to work remotely and not have a dedicated room or space in my house that is like for my office. And part of the benefit of working remotely is like you can move out of the city and you can have a bigger house, you can have a bigger yard, you can have a garden and different things because you don't have to pay city prices and I like, I'm a small town fan. Like I like the idea, we talk about like having more social interaction. Like in smaller towns, you tend to get more of that. Like the people that are working at the stores and stuff tend to be the same people. There's not a huge amount of turnover there. Whereas in the city, you can kind of just get lost. And we've lost a lot of community in the world. And I think that working remotely could help us bring some of that back.
Agreed.
Or that's my idealist version away. So, like thinking about kind of the two different ways of working, like I think of it more of like the legacy worker, which is very much a compliance mindset of like that factory mindset. And in order to kind of work towards being an effective, people can work remotely and still be ineffective. Like the legacy worker really works within systems, follows defined processes, reacts to what's designed, measures effort and hours, and needs external structure. But in order to work effectively remotely, you need to build out your own skills where you're able to design and improve your personal systems, potentially the business systems as well. Create your own processes. Like one of the things we talk about is you need to have a startup and an end of day process. Similar to like, and we'll get into this a little bit, of when you go to an office, you have a built-in process. Like you get ready, you get in your car, you go to the office. You need to build something like that for yourself when you're working remotely. Same with your end of day as well. And without that, anytime a team member doesn't have that, I see them really struggle with remote work. Let's see what else is on here. So when you think about when people first get into remote work, like how did that first feel like? Was it a little bit of culture shock, like when you first started working remotely?
Oh yeah, it was not easy. I Yeah, I guess I was used to the system and the built-in structure from going in to a workplace. So starting remote work was very different because I had to completely build that. It wasn't really we have some frameworks and stuff, but I had to kind of really figure that out for myself. And having not really got any experience of that, that was definitely a rocky start for myself, I would say.
And people like often feel lost at the start. There's a lot of task switching, busy but not productive, and like ending the day behind. And a lot of it's skill
Mhm.
building. Like even though we do have the systems and structure, like start your day like this, do this, like there's a discipline to it that you do need to build up. Like you do actually need to do those things. And people tend to fight the process, fight the system initially. And then once they get into it, it becomes just like second nature. And then you get this freedom from process at that point in time. And, I think a lot of people, would you have said like when you first kind of came in of like, because it was a bit rocky at first. Now, what would you have considered yourself lazy at that point? Like what, I don't know if that term would really land for you.
No, I wouldn't say lazy. I just think one overwhelmed. I just kind of like I didn't have that structure, so anything that came at me, I was just reacting to it. I didn't really know how to properly prioritize work or organize my day, and so I was just all over the place, and I just had a list of things to do, no idea how to do them. Yeah, so I wouldn't say lazy, just I don't really know what the word would be there. Very overwhelmed for sure.
It's like this like the lie that you tell yourself is that, or the story you tell yourself is that, well, I just need to get more done.
Hmm.
And, we're constantly improving our own processes because what I've found is that there isn't a good framework right now for how to run a good remote company. And internally we've developed systems and process of how to prioritize that, how to like our frames for how to look at work differently. So that way you're not always asking for permission because that first one of like waits for direction. Somebody
Yeah,
has to tell me what the priority is. And especially within the technologist world that we work in, like if I have to tell you everything that you have to do, like I might as well just be doing the work for you. So you need to
yeah,
learn that skill to be able to effectively say, well, what's a priority and what's not, and not like you're gonna get it wrong, and that's okay. That's how you learn. I remember somebody telling me once of like if you're skiing and you're never falling, you're not pushing yourself. It's like you when you fall, it means you're learning, you're acclimatizing, you're building that skill to be able to have that discernment of like, okay, what's a priority and maybe what's not. It's like you were trained to work in systems, not build them. And this
mhm,
is the core problem when people are trying to think about remote work is that the systems and structures that business are generally what I would consider legacy businesses were built upon there are systems and you as an employee are going to work within those systems. Don't question them. This is the way we've always done it. And with the rate of change of technology and the new things that are coming out, that no longer works. And what we need now is people that can work in systems and look for ways to improve them, implement those changes, and then sometimes redesign systems too. because sometimes the whole thing just needs to be thrown out. It's like this has become a Frankenstein and just needs to be thrown out altogether. But that getting out of that mindset of, well, this is just the way it is challenging. Like, and I even see it still in my, as much as I say that, like, I come up with things of like, even it comes up for me too, but just like always asking yourself that question of like, when am I falling into that? And then when am I being able to be proactive with it? And offices naturally provide us those defined hours, built-in routines, fewer decisions, and clear expectations. But when you're designing out your own personal process, you can create this for yourself, which both gives you greater freedom, but sometimes that can be scary.
Mhm.
But ultimately, the other side of it, I think, is a brighter future, I would say. Like I'm happier now and I feel more in charge of my life. I have more autonomy over my life. And not just because I run the business. Like I feel like it's not just because I'm the business owner. And I'm gonna put you on the spot now, Lizzie, of like when you think about your life in comparison to what it was before to now having that freedom, which I think initially was a struggle for you, but now having that ability to kind of say, okay, like what do I want my day to look like? And how can I succeed both at work and also personally?
Yeah, I mean, previously it really was just kind of an illusion at other jobs. Like, yeah, I've got this structure built in, but am I really getting enough things done? I don't know. And then starting here, it was a rocky journey. I kind of felt like I was always trying to keep up, and I wanted to have more flexibility in my days, but I at that time I didn't at all because I just hadn't built in any kind of process or structure. And now it's totally different. Like I know what I'm going to be working on in the day. I have control over my days and my weeks, and I feel like I have so much more freedom as well. Like I know what I'm working on. I'm working on the right things, but also I'm not just dreading work. I'm excited to work and I'm excited to go build my puzzle when I'm done work. Or, like I know I'll be able to do that because I'm not overwhelmed. I'm not staying late. I don't have a commute. It's just so much more freedom and flexibility.
And it is building, like we provide system and structure, but you still need to
You have
you
to
still need to
build it.
build your own process and your own muscle. Like I think of it in the comparison out to exercise of like when I'm first doing push-ups, like yeah, that first push-up is a struggle, but like you do it every day, you put in those reps and it gets easier and easier. And then all of a sudden people are like, how do you do 100 push-ups? Like that's wild. But you build up to it. And I think a lot of people maybe don't want to put that work in to be able to build up that skill. But on the other side of it is a greater freedom and flexibility and a life you actually want to live, not just one you want to escape from.
Yeah,
And I think that that is the core unhappiness with most people. Like, I can't tell you how many of my friends just complain about their jobs. And
right.
I'm like, is this really the life that you want? It's like you're just waiting for the weekends and waiting for your vacation, and I think a lot of people just don't see another way of, hey, it can be better. You can both make a really good living and also have work that you genuinely enjoy that makes you a better person.
Mhm.
But it's not, we just can't keep doing things the way we've always done them in order to get that. Like we have to change our inputs to get better outputs. um, and a big part of that is self-leadership. It's not about necessarily willpower or discipline. It's about designing your own process that make the right behaviors easier. And it's like something can be easier, it can be hard as a choice.
Yeah.
And we just don't always see it as a choice in that moment. But having and being put in an environment like at Business Tech Ninjas, which really gives you the ability to build up those skills because it's hard to do on your own. You really do need a mirror of somebody or a company to really like show you, okay, hey, this is how you're showing up, and to have the patience and the kindness to work with you as you build up those skills and to develop them, but ultimately to create that level of autonomy you want to have within your own life. And we tell these stories to ourselves like, I just need more discipline, maybe I'm not cut out for remote work, I just need better training. But it's not a character flaw to fall into overwhelm or stress. Nobody is born in like, oh, Lizzie, you, you were born overwhelmed. You are never going to be able to escape this. It's like, no, it's a habit, it's a skill we fall into, and it's a skill you need to build to get out of like how to self-manage you so that you can show up, be more effective at work, and ultimately work less for the same, if not more money, would be the ideal. So you can spend more time doing cool shit. That's the goal. Watercolor paints or puzzles.
Puzzles.
Different strokes, right? It's not that you have too much work. It's that you haven't built the capacity and the skill. And I fall into this myself of like I look at all the things I have to do and I'm like, okay, like there's a lot. So it's like prioritization is a skill. To be able to
Mhm.
look at your work and say, okay, what's noise here? And what's actually going to be helpful, what's actually going to move the needle forward because it's an easy escape route to just say, well, I just have too much work. It's like, yeah, or I'm just too busy is the other really big one too. But a
Those were
lot of
my big
that
ones.
is process, and one of the frameworks that we use is okay, write down all the things that are overwhelming you right now is one of them. And that helps to just kind of see it and be able to say, okay, what's actually important here? We want to work from like moving from a reactive day to a proactive day. Successful remote workers don't wait for the day to happen to them. And some like we do on Fridays, I have everybody fill out a feedback form, which a lot like makes you reflect. Now you've been doing that feedback form for years now.
Hmm.
How has that changed your mindset? Because the purpose of it is for you, somewhat for me to keep a pulse on how team members are doing, but it's to force you to reflect on your week too. Like, how
Yeah.
did you do this week, and what do you want to make better next week?
Honestly, when I first did it and I saw it, I was like, this is really cool. I've never had this before. I've never reflected on my week before, and I find it really helpful. It's nice to just think back on the things that went well or maybe the things that didn't go so well because when you're going through the week, you're going pretty fast no matter what. Like you're taking your days, you're doing your work. And so it's really nice to actually just take a moment to reflect back on that and then think of what you can improve. And I find that it's helped me to actually be able to improve on things because I'm making that conscious acknowledgement and then I'm again preparing for my next week. And
Mhm.
I think it's really cool. I like it.
It's that 1% better every week. And you can also see like a log too, which I find really helpful.
Yeah,
We do have stressful week. Like it's just life.
totally.
Like life's not a constant, oh, this is good. Like you have stressful weeks. What we don't want is patterns of every week is stressful.
Yeah.
Every week is like, it's like, no, we had a stressful week and then I had a calm week. And you can, because we keep a log of all of them, we can track and we can see those trends. And then also recognize, okay, there's a pattern of stress here. So there's something like foundational that's not working. So it's like what process or system needs to be updated because it's like it's not just the outputs we want to be looking at. It's like, well, what's happening to create this? And if every week you're looking at like, well, how can I be a little bit better, a little bit better, a little bit better, you can't help but succeed.
Hmm.
It's like you just put in the reps. Like if you do 10, 20 push-ups every day, you're going to get stronger. It's
Yeah.
like you just are going to get stronger. And the same goes with like doing that repetition of like, okay, hey, how can I be a little bit better this week? So the next step would be like start really thinking if you're thinking about remote work and well wondering if it's for you. I mean, one, there are some realities of it that you do need to work through and a commitment to yourself. Having a workplace that also believes in working remotely is very helpful. Even if you do have like a partial working remote, like if you can show that you're more effective at home, I don't know any business owner that wouldn't be like, okay, yeah, let's do that. If they do, then maybe you need to look at where you're working. Is the other question. But I would like to think in my idealistic view that if you were to present that business case of, hey, I'm more effective if I'm working from home, then like it's hard to argue, unless it's a big corporation that just has mandates that are passed down. When you're thinking about it, call it your personal process of thinking about your ideal workday structure. Where are the breakdowns? What's causing you stress? What's the highest impact routine from you? And really thinking about that designing out of your day consistently and then reflecting each week of was I effective this week? What were my stress levels? What dropped? What didn't drop? But I think the first step is to really kind of understand like, well, where are you at right now? Of that getting that baseline of am I working effectively? How can I know that? How can I measure that? And then each week, okay, how can I be a little bit better? How can I be a little bit better? And that's how you can design out this structure. I highly recommend you've got to have a startup and an end of day routine. Like those are like just core. Start your day in the same way every single day. And ideally start it with one thing that you're doing and then habit stacking, big fan of atomic habits of add another thing, add another thing, add another thing. But those things that you have to do consistently that are non-negotiables, don't make it, I'm going to do it at some point in my day. It has to be in a structured time every single day. Otherwise, you will end up being reactive.
Mhm.
And a great question to ask yourself is like, do I fall more into reactive or proactive realm within my workday? And that goes if you're in an office or if you're working remotely.
Yeah.
And on that note, if we're going to be producing more content on working remotely and what it means, I struggle with the fact a lot of companies are forcing team to go back to the office at this point in time. It feels like we're not progressing as a society. It feels like we're regressing. And I don't completely blame them because the systems and structures for how to, one, be an effective remote worker yourself, and then also the business structures need to change because the business structures of compliance, factory-based work don't work if you're managing a remote team. And you need to be more intentional about creating culture online remotely and how to measure things, but not how to measure like an illusion of progress, like how many tasks you've completed, but like how have you actually moved things forward. But there's a methodology and a system for that that we're developing at BTN through the Technologist Institute, and through many of our partners as well, to really how do we push this forward? Because I think people would be happier and more fulfilled if you had more time to design your life or your work around your life versus that hamster wheel of okay, I just am basically working to live and that never ending of what I was in of you wake up at 6:30, hope crawl into bed at 10 or 11, and if you have kids then whew, even more so. But then you're just on this constant happy hamster wheel just waiting for the weekend or waiting for a vacation. It's like let's stop putting our lives on hold. And I think that remote work really makes that possible, but I also really can see the challenges of it. But those challenges are accomplishable.
Oh yeah.
And then we make puzzles together, Lizzie.
Those watercolor puzzles.
Oh, we can combine the two. Maybe you can get a puzzle that is like a watercolor, like one of those like do your own watercolors, but then it's
That'd
a
be cool.
puzzle on it. Oh, I'm sure AI can design it for us so we could just get it printed somewhere. Thanks for watching. It's probably a long video. Appreciate you and comment below if you're interested in learning more of what are your struggles with remote work or do you love it? And like we're totally off base here. And how can we push remote work as a way of living forward so that we can move out of our cities, have gardens, and spend more time living and less time working.